Meeting to order for tonight, April 18th, 5 o'clock. And we'll first have roll call.
Jim Zarnick,
Present.
Joan McInerney,
Present.
Ken Gambala,
Present.
Wayne Pondinas,
Present.
Joe Wizawati.
Present.
We have the April 21st regular meeting minutes. If you all had a chance to review it, do you have any corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. A second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, new and old business. We'll start off with Robinson with updates on the listed task orders. You got the floor.
Thank you. So, folks, I was on vacation the last meeting we had there, and Jim Sarnick reached out to me, and I provided him some information, but I haven't had a full chance to fully answer all the questions he had from it. So we have the task order sitting there. A couple of things have changed. The regional treatment plant task order, the location has changed now. We've got indication it could be somewhere near where the skate park's going to be. Before it was on a piece of property that Mr. Lawton owned, and there was issues associated with it. So that's going to be changing a little bit. And also the interconnecting raw water main too now, because of where we're moving the location of where the treatment plant's going to change, the internet connecting raw water main is going to change too. So on that. The well houses are staying exactly the same. We're still proceeding with the well houses on 8 and 9. They've both been drilled, and we've got a lot of information regarding the pilot study, for example. The pilot, which isn't involved in this, but I'd like to get into an update on the pilot study too. So.
You want to do that now, or?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Let me grab my notes on the pilot study here. So the pilot study, they were authorized to proceed the end of this week. So the property owner allowed them to go back out there to the property and to do it, and they think they're gonna start at the beginning of next week. Whether holding out, it should be done in about a week. And then after that, it should be about a month before the report is done. The report right now is very, very positive. What we thought was going to happen is actually happening. We thought that we'd get 6 gallons per square foot out of the media, and the media is currently designed for 4 gallons per square foot. So by changing the media out, you can literally gain 50% more treatment plant capacity. That's where the chokehold is. It's not so much in the supply, it's in the treatment plant capacity on it. And so it's really, really positive. The 10 state standards, which IDEM follows, states that it has no greater than 4 gallons per square foot. But by having this pilot study done and showing a different change in the media out, we could go to 6 gallons. This is not something new. IDEM's approved this in the past, and it's been successful. So I think it's very, very positive on that. So if that was to go forward, just so you know, there will be media change out in the 2 filter plants you have now. And then going from whatever capacity they were, we'll increase their capacity by 50%. So you really will be saving millions of dollars by not building a new treatment plant capacity somewhere else, which doesn't negate the need for the treatment plant you have now for wells 8 and 9 too. So you still have to go forward with that, but it gives you a cushion now. So
what would be the timing of that?
Timing on that, it's going to be a 2024-25 job on it. I'm sorry, the media change out. Oh, I've got the timing there.
Like the media change, if this pilot study shows that it's successful, when could we change the media in those tanks to be able to? So
we always predicted that in the summertime they will be done and be going on to IDEM. IDEM has to approve it. Then after that, we prepare the cost estimates for you to review on changing the media out. It's not going to be inexpensive, but it's not going to be super expensive of building a new treatment plant. And so I would say sometime in the fall you'll know with that. The construction on that is not that labor intensive. We're going to be vacuuming out the media and putting new media in. So I would say that job could be completed within 4 or 5 months after starting it.
Is it available?
Yes, it is. We talked to the supplier, and as a matter of fact, the media is called Oxy 12 is what it's called. And it's been known for treating sulfur, which you're now getting sulfur in your water too, and taking iron out. You can load it heavier on iron too. So it's kind of like a perfect world, and I don't want to take credit for this because Peerless Midwest did a majority of this work, and they just did an excellent job on it. The only delay we had was the weather, that it didn't freeze over the winter. We couldn't get out to well number 8 to finish off the pilot testing.
9. Well, number 9.
9, I'm sorry. Thank you, Wayne. Yeah.
So like to get this capacity wouldn't be for probably like after summertime, so into the
Yeah,
fall?
I would say it would be sometime in 2024, and we would also do it at the Monix treatment plant and at the Gates treatment plant. Like I said before, you have more well capacity feeding your treatment plants than what you could treat at your treatment plant, which is good. Okay, but now you'll have this additional capacity there. And with the whole intent, when everything is said and done, to be off of Sherrville water. We don't want to be on Sherrville water, we want to be control of what we're doing.
Yeah, the Monix plant's been there for a while now. And media is-
When was it, do we know when the media was changed out last on either of those?
Well, I know when the Monix plant was built, I think that was a 2005 job on it. The Gates plant, I couldn't tell you for sure when that was built.
Do we know when it was, they changed out the media on those two
They,
tanks?
they added on to the Vonix plant,
Yeah,
and I don't know, that was probably before '04, but I think they changed it out once.
since '04 or
No, I think around '04.
'04, okay.
Not exactly sure, but I think they did suck something out of there and refill it, but, and I think it's the original media that's in the gates.
Yeah,
Yeah, Monix was added on, and the settling basement was added on too, also for the Monix. Also, the question is, the birds are singing, and how's our project gonna start in Acorn?
Oh, great news. We're in QCQA. We're going to be ready to advertise maybe in about a week to 10 days. We're finaling up the QCQA process within our office. Everything's green light on it. It looks great, folks. I mean,
and we do have a letter that's getting ready to go out. Once we're
Yeah.
ready to go for bid, we'll go ahead and send a letter out just to let the residents know it's moving forward on that.
Yeah, I've got feedback from some, they noticed the work's been going on,
Yeah.
seen your survey crews, and
yeah, it's exciting. We're excited about it. And we're going to do it upright, too. This is the first job out the gate with us with you. We want to do a groundbreaking. We want to do a resident meeting where they can meet who all the players are, have the contractor there, and talk to them about, not letting anybody in their home unless they've got a certified badge or with this contractor or the town or Robinson. We've done these before. It goes a long way. It takes like half hour, but I think the residents love it, too. And the residents can be in the pictures and that kind of stuff.
Wayne, you have anything to add to the list of projects?
I like to see that want to know why the 600 feet that we got to go from Redeemer Church to go into the treatment plant, and that's going to be part of this well 8, why that's not getting done. We had the permit, from what I understand. It was, and in order to get the permit, it had to be engineered to go into the building, to cut into the building, to get it cut in the foundation and come up in the floor, even if you don't connect the pipe. We've got the pipe, we got the valves, but I'd like to get that part done. And I was told we need a bigger project, but that's part of getting well 8 and 9 done, and I don't know, I do have prints for wells 8 and 9 that were drawn up for 28, it looks like a 2018 and 2019, and it has everything in there but chlorine, I think. So that's just the building. If this is drawn up and we can use these prints, then I think it would behoove us to do another set of prints if we've already done it. And are we getting into, duplication of services? If we can get, my opinion, and I'm not Tom or Robinson or another engineering company, I think we can get this done this year, at least get the foundations in and start. And it's important that we can get the brickwork up maybe in the fall. I don't know, but I think you have to have an item permit for that. But if we already have an item permit to do the 600 feet, it expired in March, but you don't want to let it expire, you can get an extension on it. And if we can do that and get that 600 feet in, that would be great. That's my goal. I've said that before. I'd like to get that done.
Just the board.
May I comment on that? So,
Go ahead.
Mr. Pontius, I had extensive conversations on this. To find a contractor to put 600 feet in, it's a low-quantity job. And we know that we're going to have a lot of interconnecting water main going on between well 8 and 9 and where the treatment plant's going to be. We can lump it all together into one and get a better price per foot. If we put this water main in, it doesn't really service us until we get wells 8 and 9 up and running. So there is no rush to get it in. And I wanted to parlay that into a larger job, get a bigger economy of scale out of it. is what I wanted to do. And that's what I explained to Mr. Pondinas multiple times. And we've talked about it. I know.
Yeah, and
he-
we've talked
I know-
about it.
I know what he wants.
I'm adamant about getting it done because we paid for the permit, so why not just get the extension, get that part in? That's, at least that part's done.
That's the question, is the permit gonna run out before 8 and 9, and then?
And what's the permit gonna
Again,
cost
for
if we
the
have to,
permit.
redo it? Did we waste our money? 'Cause
How
it was,
much did the original permit cost us?
I don't know.
Hard to say. It should be around 8 or 9% of what the construction cost is. I mean, that's what it came out to be. But it would have been for the larger job. I don't know why, and maybe you could help, why was it stopped 600 feet short?
When they, well, what we did the town a favor, back before they started building in the Gates East, the line was already run through the neighborhood, and it falls up there by the church. It falls short right there, 600 feet from the building, our building. And when they did all the houses, before they did the house, they put that, as they put houses in, they put in the transition line, I'll call it transition line. They stopped on the other side of, or the east side of Klein. So when the developers start developing that subdivision, I was told, hey, we should get going on this because he's not gonna let us cut through the road. So what they did is we jumped on it, we run the line down 105th, all the way down to the backs of the houses, and they had to allow 60 feet of space to do the construction. There was no houses there yet, but they're gonna start putting in foundations. And then they ran all the way to the property line for well 8. So if we didn't do that then, and we were gonna do it now, it would be a tremendous cost. You'd have to go through people's yards and everything else. The utilities weren't in, I don't think. It would be a mess. And I think you would probably agree with that, Tom. That was a good call to get that done. And now I seen that, we can get that 600 feet. That was all set up. It was supposed to be advertised for bid. The property was located twice, so the contractors could see where the path was gonna be for that. I don't know why we don't get that in. That's much more ahead of the game for next year. And granted, we're not putting any water in it. We probably won't make a connection inside the building. We'll probably leave a space, because Item probably wouldn't want us to touch, to tie into something, the piping. But at least that part would be done. And in the springtime of this year, there was a lot of contractors that wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, but for 600 feet of water main,
Yeah, I know.
it's
I
gonna
know.
be super expensive per flood. So I get it. So these plans for wells 8 and 9,
Yeah, I went to, they're right here. I don't know
those were
if,
done by,
these were done by Haas. So I don't, it looks, like it's complete. It's got, foundation, everything, footings.
was that project permitted?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if they ever got a permit issued for
No,
that.
Jason says no.
So with the designs that Haas has, that they did, could we theoretically use those, get the permit for the well house, if those are adequate enough? I don't know, because I haven't seen them, and I don't know if you've even reviewed them.
We can't use their plans. It has to be under the direct supervision of Robinson for the plans to be done by us.
Okay, is there any way you could review their plans and see if they're adequate instead of, to Wayne's point, reinventing the wheel and redoing that? To see if they're adequate. If they're not, then obviously that doesn't make sense. I don't know how engineer stuff works,
Yeah.
with respect to,
Yeah.
you did the work on this and, I don't know what the territorial or legal logistics, like if someone wrote a legal opinion, that's one opinion, but then there's another guy that's got another opinion. So I don't know how that works, but is
Okay,
that
tell you
something
what.
that can be done? Because, in order to mitigate cost on this thing, if they're adequate, then let's go forward with that.
I'll take a look at them and I'll also contact Item, see if we got a permit on them. And I'll talk to the gentleman at Haas, Mr. Not Fisher, I forgot the gentleman. I know, I have a connection with the gentleman at Haas. that
Not
we're-
Pete.
No.
Not
it's-
Pete,
It's Mr. Haas. What's his first name? Tim?
Tim and,
Yeah.
Jim Mauer? Yeah.
There's Jim Mauer, but
Why don't I do,
Would
why
have
don't I
been the gentleman that
Okay.
did it. If he remembers he did it, that would be the guy.
Okay, we'll give something in about a week to the board, okay?
Yeah.
On where we stand with that.
Yeah, I understand you substantially have to review them before you can put your stamp on them, but
yeah.
if it's possible to save some money and time that way, especially having to pay the state for another permit, if we could all avoid that.
Well, I think the permit was for going into the treatment plant,
Yeah, you still got to.
but I think they still have to have a
Well house,
permit
yeah.
to build the
well
two
house.
well houses.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the list? No?
No.
Then we'll move on to, I'm operating with one eye here, so.
Item B.
We'll help you out.
Okay, next there's budget, town manager and whatever we have to present.
Yeah, Daniel, you want to go ahead and kick that off? Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, it'll be easier to hear.
I'll just sit here then. Okay. All right. Good evening, board. I believe I've had the pleasure to meet all of you firsthand. So my name's Daniel Dalton. I'm with Center Dalton Municipal Advisors. After speaking with Joe, town manager, and a few other elected officials, we would like to discuss maybe putting together a 2023 budget for the water utility, just so that we can have monitor operations moving forward, have a better grasp of what we're planning on doing. And so I'd like to jump right into the matter at hand here and make a quick discrepancy between the difference between the water utility and the water district. So the district, as you all probably know, is a property tax-based fund. It's all encompassed, the property tax is encompassed within each taxpayer's tax rate. The water utility is based on metered charges, unmetered charges, all the water fees that you typically see, and then in addition to that, some other operational revenues like interest, refunds, things like that. So historically, the water utility operating fund has not been budgeted, and so we believe that it would be a good practice to implement, to put a budget in place, so that we can track moving forward all the expenses, like I said, all the planned projects, the large projects, everything like that. So if we look at and Mr. Pondinas, I don't believe I handed you this schedule, but let me do that.
That's all right, I come
Okay. All
kind
right.
of late.
So if we take a look at this schedule, and Jason, thanks for throwing that up on the screen. I've compared the last 3 years' worth of expenses in the consolidated water utility and the water district. And so what we see is about $2.5 million spent in 2020, $3.6 million spent in 21, 4.1 in 22. So that's historical. That's right on the dot there. Some of the large differences between those years relate to salary increases and contractual services, which oftentimes relate directly to large projects and engineering fees, financial and legal fees, things like that. So those contractual and materials and supplies, those are hard to predict. Those are pretty challenging to predict. So what I've done for 2023 and 24 is I've assumed a 3% increase on expenses off of the 22 fiscal year. And so based on that, we're looking at $4.2 to $4.4 million that we should have probably plugged into the financial software for the town.
Could I
Water
ask-
utility, sorry.
Can I ask a question, Daniel?
Sure.
So contractual services would include engineering as well, right?
Yes,
Okay, so all these task orders and such would fall under that category,
yes.
right? Okay. So that the current task orders aren't being considered in these numbers?
They would not be, because this is a preliminary run of what, it's an educated guess, is what I can tell you.
Okay.
The current task orders, I would need to have some more involvement with the board to really plan out what we expect some of these projects to cost.
And some of those would be figured into the 5-year plan as well,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't have here. It's being presented
We
Thursday.
will,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's not here yet, but I know
we
some
will
of the-
rough out those numbers.
Yeah, some of those numbers are included in that 5-year plan.
So the 5-year plan is for the town as a whole?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we did a CIP for the next 5 years, projecting out, I know, you know, me and my CIPs, I like those. So, yeah, so we put our CIP together, we finalized everything, we went through the department heads, we had Beth involved with that in that process, so it's been a long time coming to get that done,
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
so.
And then the other piece, like we're talking about, is putting together a budget for the utility, the water utility.
Hmm.
I think that would really solidify the machine,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Great.
And so I guess moving forward, this is a useful document to just gander at. But moving forward, my game plan is to put together a financial management plan, which is a much larger scope, saying, here's the last couple of years of everything, all the revenues, all the expenses, here's your fund balances, and then here's what we're projecting.
Right, and I want to get down in the macro with the salaries, with the benefits, all of that,
Yes.
how that breaks down, how that impacts water and sanitary, so.
And then budget for the district compared
Right.
to actuals for the district, et cetera, things like that.
Great.
So that's my game plan, as long as the board is okay with me putting that together.
And so what's the cost for that service?
We charge on a hourly basis, but I can run an estimate as to what it might cost to put that together, but it's not going to be insane.
Salaries and wages, and insurance are all based on present numbers. So if the salary ordinance changes in 23 or.
Right, and we'll be making some
Yes.
recommendations for changes in 23, probably June of this year. And then going into the next budget year, we'll have some changes on that as well.
And obviously, insurance is always a big guess.
And
Yes.
Insurance has been actually, I think we're pretty steady this year, but going into next year, it might have some tweaks and changes on that.
Yeah, it's a matter of nailing down the cost of everything over time. These things take time to really figure out what they're gonna take out of pocket.
So, I'm sorry, so right now, the projected 2023 is just a 3% increase over a 2022 base of
Yes,
actuals?
that was my
Okay.
assumption. Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing that we already know, there's already knowns that we have are not built into 2023 yet?
That
It's
is
just
correct.
a purely 3% increase?
Yes.
Okay.
And over the next couple of weeks, I will be nailing in some of the large projects, putting them in here. We'll have conversations about salaries and insurance and items like that may adjust these figures right in front of you.
Yeah, and we wanted to make sure that you guys had eyes on numbers, for this meeting, just to kind of get a preliminary look,
Mhm.
at what our numbers are.
It's good that we've got something to look at.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. And so then, like, on a monthly basis, we would be getting a document that would say, here's what your budget is, here's where you are tracking against that budget on a line item level?
That's a good point, and I wanted to ask you that if you request that, I am happy to provide that.
Yeah, and the clerk treasurer does provide the copy of the appropriation report, which shows how much is actually was budgeted, how much is encumbered, if there's projects that are pending that are, we've got purchase orders tied to, and then if there's any money that's been expended for the month, for the year. So, yeah, we'll have those hard numbers. And we get those usually at the beginning of the month for the previous month.
Or if I may interject, if you would rather a quarterly financial update from us, then I'd be happy to run through all the numbers with you, detailed numbers, and projects pending, what they're going to cost, how we're going to fund them, etc.
What's your flavor?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so one is, I mean, once we establish what the budget is, right, I guess from a cost management standpoint, right, is that something then, once we establish what the budget is by line item, is that not something that the clerk treasurer could do? Load in the budget into our financial planning tool and should be able to hit a button and do actuals versus budget
Right.
each month, right?
Well, we don't get an actual versus budget, we get an appropriation report, and I've sent those to you before. Although it says 0 for amount that's appropriated, that would have the actual numbers plugged into those. The amount that was expended year-to-date and amount expended for that prior month. So kind of a budget to actual, but it's not.
But we're talking about creating a budget.
Yes.
Correct. So that those budget numbers would be in there as appropriated amounts.
Right, and then that report should be able to say, you're spending more than your budget, or you're under
Exactly.
your
Over
budget,
or
right?
under.
Or you
Right.
have to do an
Right,
additional
better or worse.
appropriation or something like that, yeah.
And so, if we implement this 2023 budget this year, there's a high chance that some of the numbers are going to look drastically different than what we plug into the financial system, Keystone. So this is kind of a beta test, to be honest with you, because we don't have a great idea today what projects are going to be funded, what we're going to be able to afford, which lines we should put what amount of dollars in. And so this is a good test for us and a good practice to get nailed down, just so we can, in 3 years, we'll have this water utility running completely smoothly. Not like it's not right now, but I'm just saying financially, if we plug in these budget numbers, then we can keep good track of it moving forward.
It'll be a good beginning of that engine to get moving.
So I'm happy to take any questions too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, we know, we right, I mean, that's been I think the conversation that we've had each meeting since we've come on is how do we talk about a project, and where's the funding gonna come from,
Right.
right? And whether that's gonna come from, was that part of what the bond issue was to cover? Is it gonna come out of ARPA? Do we have available ARPA funds? You know, that, I
Are
mean,
we gonna be
that's
looking
the
at, are we gonna be
question.
looking at financing that? How are we gonna finance it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's that gonna do? Impact on the utilities?
You don't
Yeah.
have the bond issues in this. This is operating.
Just operational.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, this
like we
is-
had an emergency with 41,
Yeah.
which we could never predict.
Right.
Okay, and that's not gonna show up in the operating, it's gonna be out of the bond, it came out of the bond fund, right?
No, actually, that actually came out of the operating fund, I do believe. That didn't come out of the bond.
They did squeeze it out of there,
Yeah.
okay. So that would throw our numbers off a little bit, there we
Yeah.
have something, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So this financial management report will incorporate all of that, all of the different operating funds and the district fund. It'll be a comprehensive overview of the water utility.
Yeah, because I think that's what we need to be able to,
Mhm.
I don't know how you operate without it,
Exactly.
or how we've operated without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how you operate without actual hard numbers and budget and kind of project out what your cost basis is gonna be for the next fiscal year, what projects you're gonna have for the next fiscal year, so, yeah, this is definitely a step in the right direction.
So I guess my questions would be, what would be the approximate cost for developing that budget in more detail?
Okay.
And, I mean, I think the way your contract is structured, it's hourly with a not to exceed, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What's the not to exceed?
It was 7,500, I believe. No,
Okay.
maybe. I think it was 7,500. Mhm.
Okay, all right.
And so what I'll do is I will send Joe, here's maybe a task list of items that would recommend we get accomplished this year,
Okay,
and then maybe some estimates to go along with it.
And then we could have that for the next meeting.
yeah, and then,
and approval.
and then how quickly could you get the work done?
Right. Okay.
Well, in the meantime, I want to get working on the salaries and the benefits and all that stuff, so he has that data ready to go, because that's probably the hardest part, kind of, because it's real, macro. And the rest of the stuff's kind of basic, I
Yeah.
guess.
I'll send that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would have maybe a little bit different point of view. So, like, salaries and wages are sort of the given, right? We know what that glide path would look like for 2023 because it's already set in the
Already set,
ordinance, right? But I think where I feel like our bigger Achilles heel is where, what are the projects that we have and where is the funding going to come from, right? Because those are the things I think that we have to be able to move on and make decisions on, just because the lead time to get those projects implemented is so long, right?
Right.
And so that for me would be the pole in the tent that we would want to stand up and understand sooner than later.
Okay.
That's my point of view. Salaries, we know what it's what it is already, right? We have a lot of the projects already that I think are, coming forward through these task orders with Robinson. I think a conversation with Robinson also can help bring some clarity
Prioritize
to
it.
Right.
to clarity to that, so that we know here's all the projects. Now, how can we get spending against it versus
That's going to be a
operation.
separate report from based on
It is.
project
And
funds. This is operating. Almost what always happens every day, wages, salaries, insurance, everything.
And we've had some of those
She-
conversations with the
She's asking,
5-year
and I
plan, too.
agree,
Yeah.
we need to also see at the same time our budgeting on, what, 2 years ago, we approved the bond issue for the,
I believe so.
2 years.
yeah, okay. Where are we at on that with all the projects going on? That's what the
yeah.
board's wanting to see also,
Right. Having a fund balance report doesn't tell you what's outstanding, what we've got left, what's coming up. I agree.
Is there a way to put something like that together?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I think we've got a good understanding of what the projects are.
So we'll be looking at two budgets. We're
Yeah.
gonna look at the operating budget.
And the
we'll
capital.
also look at the capital.
Right.
money.
Hey, Ken, John would like to say something?
Oh, yeah.
Question, when you do the budget, are you also going to show your revenue stream coming in?
Yes.
So you know,
Yes.
that way you can look at revenues, those are pretty predictable, what you're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
have. And then you can have a line item for your debt service, which you still have to pay in the bonds. And then what's left over would be for operating and then any new capital expenses
Right.
that you want to do. That's going to give you a true money coming in and what you have budgeted. And just like you had mentioned, you can kind of see where you are throughout the year, or if you have to reappropriate something
Yeah.
to a different line item. So you
Right.
you
To
need
your
to definitely
point,
look
if
at
you're-
the
you're
revenues
spending more-
coming in.
If you're spending more than your revenue coming in, then you know you got a problem.
Right. Yep, that's all.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? This is going to go to Daniel. Daniel, operating expenses and purchasing water from Sherrville, is that money included in the operating expenses?
It would have been included in the prior years, 20 through 22.
Okay, because in 2025, we should be off of that, and there should be a $500,000 a year savings too.
25.
25.
Okay.
Where does that show up?
That's what I was gonna say, what line item is that in?
I mean, that's a big number.
Well, it's not really in the operating budgets, it's in the expense and water usage thing is where it goes against.
I
What
think
we're
it's
paying
probably
Sherrville.
among several different line items in there,
Right,
Jim.
right.
Would be my.
And so,
And that fluctuates, that's the
Right.
thing.
if I may, this is strictly a summary just to inform the new board members of, what's our history? Where do we look right now? I know this is just expenses. And so I wanted to, before we got into conversations about the 2023 budget, get everybody up to par on how do we look? What's the trend? What's the historical trend?
No, we're making headway, we've got an operating budget, we're also gonna have an appropriations budget.
Yes.
Bond money budget, so, and then maybe the third thing, we'll be looking at something else, so, but, right, we're moving forward. Anything else, John?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You have any special reports and correspondence, Mr. Town Manager?
Not this evening, no.
Okay. Jason, do you have anything? I think we covered A and B here, project updates under task orders, I believe. And is there anything else?
So I guess the one thing that I had was, with summer months coming up, I'm not sure who sort of we should look to give their professional opinion on what are we thinking the summer's going to look like from a water standpoint. What, what's the outlook for the summer?
Right. I think we need to wait and kind of see how, the watering is going to go. I think we'll have a better understanding in May and when it gets warmer, especially in the mornings from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and see how our water levels kind of are being managed by the residents, by our SCADA system, and just kind of see if we're going to be in balance. I mean, it may very well be that, we do the, even and odd sprinkling again. That seemed to help last year. It wasn't a final solution. Kind of tweaking down our hack water tower kind of helped. We kind of closed the valve a little bit, so it forced the other tanks to drop. And they kind of had a little bit more equilibrium, in the system. So I think we just got to kind of wait and see, and it's going to be a day by day. But I don't think we have a final solution, to be honest with you.
We're really in a learning curve with all our new equipment.
Well,
Right now, especially
But the
with
SCADA system last summer was in place, correct? And we were collecting
Not fully. No.
data.
It wasn't-
not fully.
It was still,
But we saw a significant, we saw a pretty decent reduction in the amount of water that we were needing from Cherville, right? So I guess,
Well, I mean,
to just say wait and see,
When we're hitting peaks of 7 million gallons a day, that's a lot of water still. So I don't think we've seen the end of that. I think we still have a lot more to go. I think the altitude valves might help being installed in the two towers, the Kilkenny and the Hack Tower. Those may help. But I don't think we're going to be out of the woods on this thing yet until we get wells 8 and 9 going.
this is true.
Well 8 will definitely help tremendously. I think well 9 will help, and maybe eliminate that whole need for us to purchase water. And that's the information we've gotten based on the numbers we're seeing on those tests from wells 8 and 9.
so is there no modeling that can be done based on all this information that the SCADA system is tracking for us to give us an outlook on what the summer might be, even though we may have to make some assumptions. If we assume weather conditions equal to last year, what does that mean that this summer is going to look like? I think for us to say we're going to wait and see is not an acceptable
Well,
response.
I don't think it's a wait and see. I think it's there's not much of a choice we have right now. We can't just flip a switch and make something happen. It has to take
No, but
planning.
we've done a lot of things over this past year. We spent a lot of money over this last year doing
I don't disagree
altitude
with that.
valves and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So what does that mean to us from a capacity standpoint? And even if we lay that, what we thought we were going to get in increased capacity, how do we lay that against what the demands were last year? And are we positive, or are we negative? And if we're negative and we think we're going to have to do some watering restrictions, let's start thinking about that now, so that if we have to pull that trigger, we're prepared to do that and not having to do it, a knee-jerk
Fire
reaction
drill,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah. Tom?
I could interject one thing on that. So, in my opinion, water use is pretty much based on the way the weather is in the summer, how dry and how hot it is. Last year, we didn't get like those big normal warnings, the 7-day heat warnings or drought, and you did drop down a lot. The year before that, you were at 660,000. Last year, at 350,000. That's wonderful. But if we do get a hot, dry spell, we may be forced to purchase more water from Cherville. The water model that we're doing right now will be done next month. We'll be able to predict how much water we will get from Cherville in order to keep up what the peak days are on it. But keep in mind, every time you get money or every time you get water from Cherville, you're not maximizing your profit of selling your own water on it too. And also, you're paying more for their water than what you're actually selling it for. So we could do that. We could predict how many peak days in a row you could go when the elevated tanks could hold up. And that's what we could do. But I think everything is going to be like what Joe says, kind of play it by ear. If we get a cool, damp summer, we should be fine, just like it was last year. And last year, like I said, you went down almost 50% of water from Sherrville. If we get a drought condition, you know, the heat index is in 100, it's going to get worse for you. And we got to be able to react to the way the condition is. I don't think we come right out the gate and say everything's going to be fine. We don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Tom, is the water model run on average flow or peak flow?
We could do both, Jim. So what happened is, so we're really close with it too. As a matter of fact, a gentleman in our company who's doing the water modeling met with the Public Works, and they loved what they seen. They got a little bit of tweaked. We're at the point right now where we're going to be doing scenarios. And scenarios are example like for what peak days, how many peak days we could go before we start putting a water restriction on. We're also looking at developments. When if a development occurs here, what's going to be needed for it? But that's where we're at with it now. But it can be run on both. So we run on the average day, then we also stress the system and we calibrate it when it's stressed by doing fire flow test.
I was just curious what the peak flow assumption is.
I have the peak flows. I did that. So we have we charted out, I don't know if you recall, I showed you a graph showing your diurnal flow patterns. We charted out every day for like three years, and there's some days there, I could send you what the top 10 peak days are, okay? And I could do that to the entire board, we'll get that. So, because we were looking at that versus what wastewater flows were. That's what we were looking at, to see what the difference was between what the water that's being pumped out versus the water that's going in the sewer going over to Sherrville's treatment plant. So,
Yeah, I guess it's like, are people losing sleep over the fact that summer's coming, and are they feeling, you know, good about it, bad about it, basis all the dollars that we have spent this last year and all the assumptions that we've made that if we do this, it's going to increase our output by this amount. If we do X and Y and Z, we think we're going to get this output, right? And those should all help us with the summer months. So I think it behooves us to say the assumptions that we made for these dollars that we spent, are we seeing that translate in reality? And I know that we can't predict what the summer is going to look like, but we could use some baseline assumptions and see where we're at. I mean, I
just to build on that, we can tell you what the water capacity of the wells are, because they were already test pumped. And we know that's going to surpass the water you're buying from Sherrville now. So we know.
Okay.
But God could always come up with some big, drought
Exactly,
that
yeah.
could change everything, So, and keep in mind too, if there is a water emergency, Sherrville's going to watch out for their own first. The same way you would watch out for your own first too.
And what we've planned for to take care of some of this is still in the works with the wells.
Right.
The well houses, all of this infrastructure. We know we need it, and we've planned in order to cover these situations of, drought situations and that, maybe not eliminate them, but it hasn't been done yet. We've got to get it done.
You're working on it, absolutely.
I know the money's being spent, but it's being spent to conclusion of eliminating some of these problems. SCADA was one of the things that just get the towers talking to each other, and the pumps and everything. That's true. So it's hard to tell yet, without getting all this put together, where we're going to be at.
It's like the puzzle's half done, but
That's right. There's
not
a lot of
quite,
pieces
yeah.
still out there. Yeah. And I agree with you. We got to tell people they're going to ask. And every year I say, well, depends on the farmer's almanac on whether you're going to have to cut back on every other day on your sprinkling, which is not a good answer. It's true, but unfortunately, that's the way we've been going.
Yeah.
And until we get all this stuff built, it's, there's a lot of things you have to get done. If we get the wells online, it's going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One other question, we've got so many surprises on 41 in the last couple of years. Everything's okay on 93rd? The water main we're going to put in?
You mean this one here, sir?
Well, we're replacing the water main out there, right?
That's first group that's doing that, and I would think that everything's okay.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything, but
I haven't heard anything negative either, sir.
Yeah, they haven't started on the water main change out yet. I would imagine that they're still several weeks out, probably, from that.
Okay,
Yeah, they're doing utility relocates right now and going to be shutting down the south lane, so the east traffic's gonna move to the north, and there's gonna be an east-only access on 93rd.
Well, I don't want to.
So you'll be able to get here, you just can't go home.
No, I hope it's not
Toll
Murphy's
Bridge.
Law, that's all, you know.
No. No, but, you know, to Bob Davis's point, I mean, when he was talking about this early on in the project, you know, getting that water main replaced is probably like a once-in-a-lifetime, you know, event. Because we're not gonna be tearing up that road, you know,
No, no,
for at least another.
we
you
won't
know,
worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
At least I won't.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a long time before they dig into that.
Okay. What else does the board have?
I don't have anything else.
Thank you for blowing the numbers up. I'm gonna go by these. I had cataract surgery, so that's why right now the world is foggy.
Everything should be perfectly clear then.
All right. We got the accounts payable vouchers dated April 18th, 2023, for a total of $26,528.07. What's your flavor on that one?
I'll make a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All- No corrections? No?
No.
Okay. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And we also have accounts payable voucher dated April 18th, 2023 for water utility, and it's $297,341.09.
I just had one question. So there was SCADA software renewal on there?
Where's that at?
16745, page 1.
What's a vendor?
145, Q-Mation.
On page 1, you said? Oh, I'm on the water district, I'm sorry. Sorry. Page 1.
Or page 2.
Okay.
Could be
let's try-
page 2. Sorry, Joe.
And who's it with? I'm sorry. The vendor?
Q-Mation.
Oh, here it is, right here. Humation. I thought we did a water SCADA software renewal.
That's Wonderware.
This is? Go ahead, Jason. Talk.
I'm fairly certain that's the Wonderware software renewal. That's your 50%. They rebranded themselves. But everybody just calls them Wonderware because that's what they've been for so long.
Yeah. Why'd you get rid of the brand name?
This was the portion that was paid by the town council already? Or approved by the town council?
It should be, because it was a 50-50 split, so if you add up those numbers and multiply it by what's gonna be coming from the sanitary district here in a few minutes, it should equal the balance.
Okay.
Is it just like an annual renewal, or is it
Yes,
something
it's
we
an
pay
annual
each
renewal.
month? Okay.
No, our license is actually so old, it predates their subscription model, so we actually own the software.
Oh, okay.
If we were to let the license expire, then we'd have to pay month to month, and we don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I have some questions on Robinson Engineering invoices just to get me up to speed. So there's an item on pages 2 and 3. There's one. So this is 16,758. It says distribution analysis, February of 2023, and then there's an item on the next page at the top. It's system analysis, February 2023. Are those different?
Jim, I haven't seen that. Can I take a glance at it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And what was the other one, Jim?
16,776. Is this it? That's it. So, there's this one down here. 5,000. And then when you flip it, there's this one for 5,000, both February. You can hang on to that.
I know, I think the name was changed, to be honest with you, because we wouldn't have called it the same thing. I don't know why it was changed that way, though. I
Joe,
couldn't
do
tell
we
you.
have the option to pull those and approve everything but those two?
Oh, yeah, that's yours, yep. And then another question would be, there's a Klein Avenue and Park Place. There's one for February and another one for February. So those are right next to those distribution ones and the system ones. It looks like that might be a duplicate. And what is the Klein Avenue and Park Place? I don't know what that is.
Jim, I apologize. I need to look at the invoice.
Okay,
They think they truncated the title on it, and they just put it in that manner there.
okay.
Kathy, do you know if these were, I'm sorry, Kathy, do you know if these were duplicates on the invoices?
I don't think so. I can run and get them if you want.
If you would, just so we could take a look at that.
Go get it?
Yeah, if you would.
Give me that.
You got different warrant numbers though on them.
Well, they're the same warrant numbers, that's why I'm like,
Remember, only so much could fit on the,
right.
No, the Park Place, yeah.
So this one's 16,778. This one's 16,770.
Yeah, they're different numbers. Well, what I'm going to do is approve it. I'll make a motion with,
Well, I don't know, if she's able to get those quickly,
Yeah, she should be.
I mean, I would,
Mhm.
yeah,
That would
otherwise
definitely
we'd
help.
have to-
I don't want Robinson to have to wait a month unnecessarily to get paid if it's good to go.
Thank you.
get interest.
Come on, Ken.
I don't know what the Klein Avenue and Park Place could be, I'll be honest. I got nothing.
On Klein Avenue, we were looking at putting the interconnecting water main between it there.
Yeah, but Park Place, I'm like,
That doesn't intersect. does it?
yeah, they don't even, that's why I'm like, is it a separate thing? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
This is your project. What we did, this is gonna be the interconnect going from 8 and 9, and also going north and south on Klein, then making that little
You know what,
600-foot
it's
connection.
probably the multitude of the
Yeah.
interconnects is what I'm
Right,
thinking.
mhm, exactly, but we'll take a look at it, see
Okay.
if
Park
they're,
Place is right there, you're right. That'd be right by the treatment plant, yeah.
Our place is the main road going through.
Sign minutes. I have to sign the minutes.
Thanks,
Pass
Kathy.
it down here.
Oh,
which amounts were you looking at?
So the warrant numbers, Or-
You
what do you need?
give me the warrant numbers, that's fine.
16,758.
Okay, hang on. I take it back, hang on, give me the amounts, I apologize.
Okay, so there's one for $5,000.
Okay, I have a well, hang on one second, that's a well.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know it did that.
Not the distribution analysis?
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
one, okay. And the question on that?
Is that
it's the water
different
model.
than, there's a different warrant number, that's titled System Analysis. And one's dated April 12th, one's dated April 13th. Both $5,000.
So you're looking at 16776, correct, for 5,000?
Yep.
All right, that one is water distribution system analysis. through March 3rd, 2023. If I can give you that, that might help with that, the date.
Okay,
And then the other one is the distribution analysis for 5,000.
yes.
Yes.
That is through February 3rd,
There you go.
2023.
Yeah,
So it's 2 incremental months, Billy.
good to go
Okay,
with
so they're
that.
both good.
And then the other question would be, so there's Klein Avenue and Park Place, both $9,550.
Again, we'll probably have to go through the dates. One is through February 3rd. The other one's through March 3rd.
But what is
What
that?
is it? Yeah.
It's for the topography for
It says
the
raw
routes.
and, raw and finish.
Right. It's for the raw water and the finished water main down Klein and going back to Park. That's what it's for. And then the location's been moved. Doesn't mean we're not gonna use the topography, but it's for the topography is what it's for. So we got the field work done on that.
For task order 2209?
I don't know what the task order number
I'm
is.
sorry, wells 8 and 9 interconnecting raw water main.
Yes, that's what it's for.
The task order that hasn't been approved.
We were authorized to go forward with it, Jim, and we went forward with it.
Yeah, if we want to hold off on it, we can hold off on it. I mean, this was before. We had this kind of in the works with the previous water board to move forward on that, so. And we wanted to get the interconnect done.
Yeah, I have to get.
Yeah, we want, Wayne, we want to get the interconnect done, correct? For wells 8 and 9.
I wanna get the 600 feet.
Right.
Tie into 8, and
Right.
then there's 2,200 feet to go from well 9 to, Klein,
Right.
and tie into that valve that's there.
Is that 2,200 feet? About,
That was my estimate, took a wheel, so
Yeah.
2,200,
Thank you.
2,500 feet.
yeah.
Going forward, I'll put through that date so you know.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
So was task order 2209 already approved by?
The task order specifically wasn't, the work itself was, because we had discussed that at the previous water board meetings. So we wanted to move forward on that because we didn't want to delay getting this thing connected. You know, and into
It
the
was
system.
tabled at the last meeting, I think.
No, we're going back to the previous board.
Because I got,
Yeah.
on my notes, it says,
Right, those
did.
task orders were
Tabled.
tabled, right. The work itself, we talked about during the Waterworks board meeting prior to January.
Do you recall that, Ken?
No. You have to go back in the minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it
You
was,
have to pull all the minutes for that.
we talked about it, you know, Tom made a presentation about that at that time, and, you know, it was discussed at that time to move forward. Believe me, I wouldn't have just said, yeah, let's go ahead and get this done.
what's the task order, Joe? I'm sorry.
The one that they're talking about is 2209. There was no task orders approved prior to
Oh, yeah,
that.
and it's
We just started this
2209,
because we want to be
But
transparent.
that's the, I thought that was with the treatment plant.
With which one?
And it says you're running 5,200 feet, proposed well 8, 9, and the regional water treatment plant.
209 is that one right there.
Yeah.
2209 says wells 8 and 9
Got it.
interconnecting raw water
got it.
main.
And that's what building a treatment plant.
It's to the proposed
Well-
regional.
I would say we would need to hold off on that until we know where the treatment plant is going to go and until the task order is approved. That's my opinion.
Jim, I could respect where you're coming from on this, but just keep in mind that we were told where the property was, and we did our design accordingly to where that
Hey,
property was.
if you were authorized,
And then,
we're all good. I'm
Yeah,
just
and then the-
frustrated with the process right now.
Yes.
the developer pulled the rug. So I don't, what else can I tell you besides that?
Okay.
And
I
we've
think
had meetings,
Mr.
we've
Wizawati
had
can
meetings
expand
with the
on it.
developer with respect to where this was gonna be, and
We got a lot of.
he kinda, yeah, and I'm not gonna go into detail here, but, you
We
know,
had a
there was
lawsuit and
discussions.
everything else. It
Yeah.
was-
Okay.
It was messy. Well, I mean, what do you want? You have to pull the minutes or,
Well, I mean, this is
yeah, I know what you're saying.
prior to my time, so I can't. I
And
can't
there was so
speak for
much
that.
on the table, you know, trying to get all these wells getting going, permitting.
again, my opinion, right? Like, the work's been done, somebody authorized it, then Robinson should get paid for it. They should not be left holding the bag. However, I do not think this should be the practice going forward if there was no formal authorization.
And I would agree with that statement, 100%.
We make the motion to approve based on research and approval by the town manager. Would you be satisfied with that? He'd have to do the,
I mean, the work's, to his point, the work's done. I mean, at this point, you know, if we want to hold off on the remainder of it until we approve the task order, then maybe that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that conflicts with the last meeting that we had, right? Because we deferred these because no work, we were told had been done on them. And so we were deferring until we understood where we were financially before we would move forward with these. The 3 that we approved last month were the ones that we approved because work had already been done, was well on its way. But these 3, I thought we had said at the last meeting, no work had been done.
I don't think we're nowhere near finalized on these on task order.
We're not finalized, but we definitely started it, and we're on pause now,
Right.
so.
Because until we get the task order approved, we're not going to move forward on it. So we either need to figure out how we're going to move forward on those task orders, or, you know, we're just not going to go forward on them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's the pleasure of the board.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable voucher. Just a straight motion for approval.
is there a second? Okay, I'll call it again. Is there a second? Dies for a lack of second.
So do all of these
Not get paid.
not get paid?
The
Well,
whole
you could
thing
make a
without the
motion to
exception of
accept-
2209?
Yeah, I
You can make
think
an exception.
you can make a revised motion, Joan.
Right.
Okay, I would make a revised motion to approve the docket with the exception of, which one is it? The Klein Avenue Park Place, February 23rd, warrant number 16778 and 16770 until it can be researched that there was approval.
Can you give the amounts on those?
Yeah, we've done
individually?
that before, which is accepting.
Sure.
778.
So 16778 for $9,550 and 16770 of $9,550. Until those are researched, that task order number 2209 had been approved by the previous water board.
Well, I can tell you, the task order specifically was not approved. The work was authorized to move forward on it. The task orders are new. These are new things. So I can tell you that the task order itself was not.
So it's the motion.
In the interest of moving this forward, I will second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. It's on the record. What's accepted? Everyone understood? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried unanimous. All right. Anything else from the board?
No.
No? Public comment? No public comment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ken.